I stay stuck like this. I wonder if people think I'm frozen. I didn't know that Netflix had this show, like Abducted in Plain Sight. See, these are the rabbit holes. Single's still doing really well. Really excited about it. But Jan was abducted. Have you? Crazy. The things people do. People are nuts. People are nuts. Like this family let this little girl get abducted, 12 years old, 1974, by their neighbor, who's their friend, and somehow convinces their friends that the little girl's staying over with the man's kids, and ends up making it a point to be able to be with her, like sleep in the same bed with her for 6 months. This is insane. Not once does he abduct her, but he abducts her twice. The family's like, oh, we forgive him. Like, she's gone on Dr. Phil and since as an adult. It's absurd. Like, quite the rabbit hole, my friends. Quite the rabbit hole. Before I even, it's like my mind is blown. Merch dropped today. Really excited. Should be able to link it here on YouTube very, very soon. And the single's still killing it, doing well. I had meetings today with people for PR. I had meetings today for brands. Like, somebody wants to give me a generator. Do you want a generator? You know, all I want to do is, I want to get on the road ASAP. Just come and hang out with you. Honestly. Anyway, the Broback. Brobacks? No, that's Roback. I'm thinking of the Roback clothes. Brobergs. The Broberg family. They're nuts. They were super instrumental in having their little girl abducted and groomed forever. Forever. Not once, but twice. And they lived in Idaho. They were LDS. And LDS people were like super forgiving. And this guy convinces this girl that this little girl has to be with him. I don't even want to get into extreme detail, but these are the things that people do to continue the population, because aliens are going to come and abduct. She was groomed so much that she believed it. I don't know. I wish I could have picked a different hobby, but guys, gals, this is what I do. It's what I do. It's on Netflix. Came out in 2018. People are like super pissed because it didn't touch on a lot of the stuff. And the mom, here's the kicker: the mom was in a relationship with the dude that was grooming and abducting the kid. Like, what? The webs we weave, my friends. The webs we weave. Yeah. Yeah. It says traumatizing. You know, I don't even want to dive into that. I actually woke up the other morning because now I'm obsessed with YouTube and I like hanging out and talking to you all. But I was looking at the analytics and people were watching the Mr. Beast Getting Buried Alive reaction. I know I talked about it already, but I've been thinking a lot about that since. Oh my gosh. Like, could you imagine? That would be overwhelming. People are so intrigued by death because it's this unknown thing. And people are so intrigued by the unknown. And people love this idea of experiences. And I actually posted a video on another platform about my experience when I lived at a funeral home of the kids playing with the ball and hearing them playing and running, and they ran in this square because the apartment above the funeral home was literally square below a square, and you could all four hallways, and you hear these kids running, playing, sound like they're laughing, sounds like they're actually passing through the north side of the bathroom door on the north side of the hall, going through the restroom, and then there's a south restroom door, and they would just be kind of playing. And I remember telling my mother about that. I was like, Mom, this is what was happening. She was like, Nathan. I'm like, Mother, it did. Anyway, she came over to visit. Sure as shit, Mom hears the same thing. She says, Nathan, I know you're scared. Why don't we go back upstairs? Mothers. Why do people not believe? I mean, I understand you can make that stuff up, but you can make stuff up about anything. I could say that this Alani can is filled with acid. It's not. But nonetheless, you know, I was going to talk about this, the Broberg family, but it's kind of messed up. I watched the American Nightmare series. It's a limited series. It's 3 parts. It's about the guy and girl. One is a physical therapist, and the other is like the doctor of physical therapy. And they're asleep, and about 3 in the morning, 3 people come in the room with lasers shining in their face and zip tie, put goggles that have black tape over, and then they abduct the female. Her name's Denise. The guy is given all this NyQuil, so he's groggy. He falls asleep. He wakes up. There's a camera in the corner, and they say, do not leave this red square that the assailant taped on this rug. So he gets up. He's scared to call anybody because there's a camera literally. Like, this is a huge, elaborate thing that sounds absurd. He goes to the police department. Of course, he calls the police hours after the abduction because, 1, he's drugged up, and 2, he's fearful because they're looking at him. He gets to the police department in California, Vallejo, I don't remember the police department, but they did a shitty job. Nonetheless, they investigate him. He is, of course, the main suspect, which I can understand, but he's helping them. He's helping them. They hold him for 18 hours. He never asks for an attorney. He's very cooperative. They give him a lie detector. They said he failed it. Come to find out, we'll get to that. He's like, I'm trying to help you all. They did not ever look for this abductor. They thought that they were making it up, or they thought that Denise was already dead and they were trying to find her body. So they essentially were like, she's gone. Denise, shows up like 3 or 4 days later in Huntington Beach, California, which is her hometown, at her parents' house, 400 miles south of where she was abducted. People were like, what the heck? So if you all remember, it was like 2015. They said it was like the big hoax, and there was a movie that had just come out called Gone Girl. So the detectives, FBI, they were like, this couple, they made it all up, and they were trying to mimic Gone Girl. There is no way that any of this happened. They all go in hiding. Everyone's super depressed. They're suspects in this. And then you fast forward. Then there's another instance where, I guess about 80 miles or 40 miles or something. Obviously, I don't know the exact number, but it doesn't matter because the point is it's far enough away. There's another instance. Somebody gets into an altercation because this guy breaks into a house. A male and female, husband and wife, are sleeping, tries to tie them up because he's going to rape the daughter. He obviously gets the crap beat out of him by the dad, leaves his phone at the residence. Police, of course, confiscate it. They don't catch him, but then they call one of the numbers, and it's his mom, the guy's mom. He's like, hey, we just have this phone. We want to get it back to him. Where is he? Oh, he's in Lake Tahoe. They get to Lake Tahoe, and this guy, it looks like a pretty sus scene, and he has goggles with black tape on. He has all the zip ties, and on the goggles and tape is one strand of blonde hair. Denise's hair is blonde. So this police department, where all this happened, still has them as suspects. This is like 5 months. They're ridiculed. The chief of police allegedly, but he says he didn't, of course, said bury their asses. So one of the lead detectives, had gone on and done a press conference and were like, they took advantage of some valuable resources and they need to be held accountable. It went national. Of course, they're humiliated. Denise was sexually assaulted multiple times. And then the assailant sends multiple emails to the San Francisco Chronicle, one of the head crime journalists, and was like, hey, I did it. I can't believe the police are not believing the victim. And if you don't run this article, and if they don't believe her, then I'm going to do it again, which he did, which was the case in which he got caught in Lake Tahoe. Nonetheless, it gets more crazy. So this police department that finds out in Lake Tahoe is like, I need to figure out, because they didn't even hear about the Denise situation. So they were trying to find cases involving abduction or breaking in, goggles, whatever. There was a case in 2007 where this young woman was similar situation, goggles, zip tied, and he was going to sexually assault her, and she was begging him, and he was like, you know what? I won't. But you probably should get a dog, because if you get a dog, then maybe this won't happen to you. So she is mortified. She goes to the police. The police don't obviously believe her either, because goggles, zip tie, sounds pretty elaborate. Absolutely. And then they were like, well, they don't have blonde hair. They had brown hair. Then they found this vehicle that was stolen months before. And then they found that similar town, or in the same town, this guy was, he was going around the same neighborhood that she was sexually assaulted in and taken from, and peeping in all these windows and taking pictures of college students. They reported it to the police. The police never did anything about it. He actually was caught jumping a fence at like 2 a.m, and he said that he was a visiting professor and he got away. And they still have not, long story short, this police department that was taking it serious finally got to the bottom of finding out that the FBI that were involved in Denise's case, they did such shoddy work. They had to give their sealed documents. They did nothing to investigate the person, like, at all. They kept looking at Denise and her boyfriend as suspects. And he went and tried to hurt somebody else. If they would have traced his phone, at one point the assailant told the boyfriend, "I'm going to call you tomorrow afternoon," or something like that. "You better answer." Well, the police took his phone, put it on airplane mode. The next morning, they turned it back on and gave it to him. But he had called from a traceable number. They did trace it 200 feet from the place in Lake Tahoe. So in other words, she was sexually assaulted 3 times or twice, but the last time could have been prevented if they had not turned the phone off and taken everything serious. They could have found him and got him put into custody. Nonetheless, long story short, they never admitted any fault. The chief of police was like, no. One of the detectives got Detective of the Year for the shitty police department. And, yeah, no wrongdoing. Oh, and they settled for $2.5 million. It's insane. You should you should watch it. I mean, you watch this show and you think, these people are lying. And there's no way that this could be possible. Oh, the dude had blow up dolls, seriously, in his trunk that could stand up. I guess they had sand or something, and they were dressed in all black to make it look like there were multiple people. So Denise and her boyfriend said that there were 3 people. The email that he had sent the San Francisco Chronicle said that there were 3 of us, but there were dolls in the, who knows. Nonetheless, he'd been in trouble before for sexual assault, never was put in prison. He was a lawyer. He graduated from Harvard Law School. Yep. This is the criminal, by the way. But it's amazing how quick, like, just quick people are to jump. It's called American Nightmare, or Nightmares. It's brand new on Netflix. And then got, I think we can all, obviously our stories, thankfully, hopefully, are not only elaborate, but as painful as what Denise and her boyfriend had to go through, and the other individuals. Oh, the kicker was the boyfriend's ex-fiance. If you're still following me, it gets so deep, the webs they weave. The boyfriend's ex-fiance was now dating the lead FBI investigator, that he had never divulged it, which would have been a conflict of interest. And as the lead detective or lead investigator for the FBI, of course he wasn't looking into it. He probably was jealous. He probably was like, screw this guy. He dated my girlfriend. Also, the criminal, as he was leaving with Denise, he was like, "You're not Andrea." "Oh, well, you'll do." Andrea is the ex-fiance to the boyfriend. Yep. They never knew why he was even honing in on Andrea to begin with. He had in his GPS all the addresses, like, of these houses that he had gone to, the victims. It was all right there, just wrapped in a pretty bow for the law enforcement. They had tons and tons of evidence in the favor of Denise and the boyfriend, and they never followed it, not at all. And instead, they smeared them. Then they still admitted they didn't do anything, and they were like, "Oh, we'll pay you $2.5 million." Like, I cannot imagine the level of stress. They went into hiding for like 5 months. Well, I can't actually imagine the level of stress. We won't go there. But it's amazing. It's amazing how people, they see just this much, or they hear what they want to hear, and then they just fill in the blanks. obviously that's a very lavish story to be talking about, the but I think even if you get on a more generic scale, even people, we can apply that to life. I mean, we must be slow to judgment, or slow, yeah, just slow to judgment. We're not the judge, we're not the juror. I mean, it was pretty wild, because in the beginning you're like, that there's no way. But were we wrong? That's probably one of those stories that I was more, I don't want to say more quick, but I was like, there is no possible way. And because you stopped hearing about it. I remember the story, the news following it forever, but then it just fizzled out and you never heard the outcome. So of course, America, we're just like, oh, we'll forget, we move on to the next train wreck, and then let's throw rocks at them for a little bit, because our lives are boring. Our lives are so boring and miserable, and we hate everybody, so let's be negative. And then instead of finding the outcome or the positive or lifting someone up, anyway, nonetheless, I encourage you to watch it, because that rabbit hole has a happy ending. Well, I mean, there's still some scars for sure. And I can imagine, like, you trust a department, you trust, let's just say law enforcement, or people, like, insert whatever, but you, like, rely on these people to look out for you, take care of you. That's what they go to school for. That's what they take an oath for. And they not only don't look out for you, take care of you, protect you, help you, they don't believe you. And then they're quick to turn on you. It's pretty interesting. And then these attorneys that are like, oh my gosh, this is insane. So blessings to them. She flew to San Francisco, Denise. She's from, I can't think of how to pronounce it, but she was obviously, she called this attorney and he said, you need to get here now, when she finally was dropped off. And the same day that she was dropped off at her parents' house, she was hiding out in the apartment, and the police were at Huntington Beach were like, hey, you need to call the police department where you are from, where you live. And they wanted her to come in, and they ended up painting her as saying she was uncooperative, and she was actually just like, you know what, I'm scared to death. I'm going to go and talk to this attorney, because I'm not sure what to do, because they'd already done a press conference to say that she was fake. She was faking it all. So she was already being plastered all over. And then the police department were like, oh, we just want to get to the bottom of it. They're like, no, you don't. You flat out already have a press conference saying that I'm lying. Yeah. We were working on a lot of show stuff. I'll be touring, this year. And so we sent out, first and foremost, to all these mortuary schools. And I'm this close, but I'm going to hold off for now. But we were so excited. We're getting all these awesome responses back. And then this one, the guy of the mortuary school sends back this terrible and hateful, just very simple email. Like, this guy who enrolls students to go to a mortuary school, for instance, a school that devotes itself to educating people how to be selfless, how to become the most incredible, have the knowledge, attain the knowledge to become the most incredible funeral professional that they possibly can, so that they can serve and pave the way for the next generation of servants. Yeah. So this person that teaches this, apparently, allegedly, I don't know, does what they did. So just take a little mental note. You never know, guys and gals. You don't know who is ultimately going to be your boss, or you don't know who somebody knows, or you don't know where people have family or friends. Be kind to everyone, because you don't know shit. You don't know the story. Anyway, Denise, she became the victor, and the new detective that figured it out, that was trying to connect all the dots, it was her first big case, and she figured it out. So Denise was assaulted as a teenager too, by the way. wasn't believed. She went to the police department. She walked to the police department to go inside, and she was stopped by a police officer outside the department and said, "This was what happened to me. This man sexually assaulted her, touched her," and the police officer said, "You don't want to do that." Meaning, you don't want to file a police report because there's no way to prove it. Who's to say you're not lying or that it did or didn't happen? So he turned her away, essentially. He basically called her a liar before, like he had already called her a liar, essentially. She left. She had no faith in the police department. One of her final quotes of the show, I'm totally ruining it for you all, by the way, but I think you can still watch it, and it's still like, oh my gosh, I was looking for a hero. Like I wanted so badly to call an officer or someone a hero to believe me, because I've been told at 17 or 18, whenever this first happened, and again as a grown woman, that I'm a liar. And I just wanted somebody, and this other officer that really saw it through, she said, you're my hero. You stood up. And I think there's something to be said about that. When all the noise is pointing otherwise, to something else, and in your gut, in your heart, that's not everything's adding up and lining up. You're like, something's a little fishy here. I think your gut's right. I think that's something to follow. And if people say, I can't imagine. Could you imagine trying to go into like a police department to put and file a report for something that happened to you that's so terrible, and they talk you out of it because they don't believe you? What the hell? Think about how many, males, I know it happens to men too. I don't want to at all discredit that, but specifically females, I wonder how many times they're made to feel like a liar. There's tons of stories about that even too. But anyway, you should watch it. It's pretty wild. It's very wild. And that is, I think it could be bad, not bad. I think if you're constantly watching like these crime shows, like it could be something that causes maybe a sense of anxiety or like heaviness in your brain. Or I like to look at it and see, the Denises of the world that have been through a lot, they've been told that they're, liars or that they did this or that, and be able to relate, meet people where they are. I think it can teach us a lot. But I also believe, I do like this, I live by, you are like the company you keep. You lay with the dog, you get the fleas. What you listen to, whether it be podcasts or what books you read, whether they be not necessarily self-help, but, that help move the needle, right? That's good. Or you with shitty people and you end up feeling shitty. I don't know. I just am a big believer in being quick to not be quick. And I was 10 minutes in, I was like, they're lying. So I didn't listen to my own advice, and I was wrong. So happy ending overall. But I was working on all day the merchandise. So the merch, the store is live, and it's not yet here on YouTube, but it is on Meta. It is on all the other platforms. I don't want to say them because then they'll push me down on the algorithms. But it's been really fun because we utilized a lot of AI to create trending concepts that coincide with like my vision, my sound, the stories. It's very, very cool how you can really dial in on AI with Mid-Journey. I don't know if you get into that. I know this is like getting really deep or whatever, but I've been working all day on just getting all that integrated and getting these pieces like these mugs and these hoodies and these shirts that are really cool. And we're going to do what are called limited runs of everything. It's going to be really neat to see that. Like, maybe 50 of this, and then it's going to go, we're going to do 50 of something else. It's fun. I'm having a really good time. I watched a video and it was like, who is to say someone isn't successful? I was watching this guy talk about Vincent van Gogh. Obviously done a ton of incredible art, and you can't, you could offer $1 million for a Vincent van Gogh piece and you can't, they'd laugh at you, right? He, during his life, felt himself a failure. And there was a quote, I can't recall verbatim, but pretty much on his deathbed, one of his last quotes was like, "This has been terrible. I'm nobody. I didn't amount to anything," and then dies. And after his death is when his art is found. He's considered this pioneer. He's considered this visionary. Of course, I mean, his stuff is absolutely beautiful. And it was after his death that now his pieces are worth millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And like, does that mean he was successful then? Or by him doing what he loved to do, the painting, the art, was the moment that he chose to do that, was that him being successful? And every day thereafter was that success. Those are things I think about, like the millions of streams, it'll come. It's not there yet, but it'll get there. Am I not successful now? Like think about, maybe you live in a house that has 1,200 square feet and you want a 3,000 square foot home. I don't know, but are you not successful now because you don't have the thing that you want in your mind? Or are you successful because you're showing up to do the things that you want to achieve the goals that you have in your mind? I don't know. So those are the little fish that swim around in this old brain all day long. But I will tell you, do not watch American Nightmare at midnight. No, it was like 10:30, 11. Because then you don't stop watching it, and then you don't go to bed until like 2 in the morning. And then you can't sleep because you're thinking about it, because you're associating it with all of the things in your life. And you're like, interesting, on totally different scales. But there was Dr. Edith of the book The Choice, Eager, couldn't think of her last name. She was obviously a Holocaust survivor. She survived Holocaust, and she was talking about, as a young adult, she's going to college, she's hanging out with all these younger people, and this one individual was grieving and so sad and upset about her outfit, like very sad, and it was a big deal. And it was in that moment that she realized that who's to say that my grief, my situation, is no greater or less than theirs. Meaning she compared her surviving, living through the Holocaust to this young woman who did not know that Dr. Edith had survived the Holocaust. She kept it secret at the time. But that her not being able to figure out her outfit, and very upset about it. Who's to say that her grief and stress is no different? And I thought, it's interesting, right? Because I don't know. I don't think I need to say any more there, because I don't, but it's true. There's no reason to measure and calculate. Things are important to us because they're important to us. We feel what we feel, and you can't argue that. I don't know how I get on the things I get on, but those are the stories. Those are the things that inspire me night and day. Night and day. It's interesting because life, I'm someone, I love being around people. I love, my friends and my family, and I love this idea of everyone knowing I like them and everyone liking me back. And it's been a very quiet season, because I feel like, it's in the quiet. It's in the quiet where a lot of really, really good works can happen. And that's when, I've done a lot more writing and self work and preparation for getting out on the road, because it is not like, that's my chair, by the way, just letting y'all know. It's not like the numbers that everybody sees, the hundreds of thousands. I don't even know. I don't even look at that anymore. But you would think that it's like this big and loud, and it is loud, but it's actually very quiet too. Just so you know, and it makes me mindful of the people that are around me, everybody, because they're all walking through. We're all just trying our best to make it through, you know? And I have a lot to be excited about. I'm excited that you all are a part of it. I'm excited that you all are here and show up and watch these videos, which, by the way, I'm overwhelmed by how many people are just watching and showing up. I don't know, apparently y'all like listening to me ramble, because these lives, they then stick on the channel and then everybody goes back and watches, and then they'll come back and rewatch a part. I'm like, I don't know, but I'm grateful, because it's this that creates the longevity, you know, because my intention and plan until I breathe no more is to continue to create and show up however that is, whether it's hologram or whatever. But, and I really mean that, but we can grow up and grow old together, and we can still share and our hopes and hurts and works, and it's exciting. It's really exciting to think about. You know, I could never have survived in living on Little House on the Prairie. It'd be so boring. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I would just go love running up and down the hill picking flowers and working the land. I don't know. But I love the sense of community that we have. And I wouldn't, if you don't like the quiet or you enjoy your own company, I would encourage you to try to find a way to, because you're not so bad. Yeah, that's what I've learned in the past 6 months. That's what I've learned. Here, I'm going to show you this, and then this is my new little guy, right? I know we have calendars. I mean, we have calendars on everything, on this computer, on that laptop, and on my phone, but I need this one too, guys. I need this one. I hope that you've had an awesome day, and jokes aside, well, I won't even say that, but be careful, be mindful of others, be slow to anger and judgment. And thanks for listening to the music. Thanks for watching the videos, sharing stuff, purchasing the merch. I mean, it means a lot. It means a lot to me, more than you know. I'm going to go eat another banana muffin. Go watch the show. Let me know in the comments when you watch it. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you two are like, you are a nut. And we'll circle back on this. I got a lot of stuff. Got a lot of stuff in the hopper that you get to. Maybe we'll go back to the Broberg family, but I didn't want to talk about Jan tonight. It's way too heavy. All right. I'll talk to y'all soon, okay? Be good.